scheme. So if your any proceeding is pending before AAR, or let's say before Settlement Commission, no, you cannot go, because these are not the authority which are prescribed. But suppose your writ petition is filed against such order. You have filed writ petition against order of AAR, or you have filed writ petition against Settlement Commission order, then certainly you can go, because in that case, what is pending is not any proceeding before AAR or Settlement Commission, but before High Court in a writ, which is specifically included in the eligibility. So you can go for that. Now, very interesting issue arises about the penalty and interest, because this is a very common confusion about penalty and interest appeal. Now, again, very shortly, I'm putting it very, I'm trying to put in very layman's language. There are issues, some issues, but what happens is that, let's take an example of a quantum appeal, what we normally understand a quantum appeal or assessment appeal. If you settle this appeal, then any penalty levied or leviable, any interest on that charge or chargeable, or any prosecution, if it is not initiated or just initiated but not instituted, you get immunity from that, whether you have challenged those proceedings or not. So if you are a quantum proceeding, if you settle, you have to just pay the tax as per your demand or per a quantum, and then there is complete waiver of that penalty and interest. And assuming you have paid another important welcome feature of this scheme is that even if you have paid the tax fully, even then you can opt for the scheme, which was not done in KVS's scheme. If you remember, where there had to be tax area, then only you could file go for KVS scheme. Here, even if you pay the full tax, you can still go for the scheme and you will get refund of tax full. You get refund. If you have interest, if you have penalty, there is also. So it's a very good feature of this scheme. Though if you have, as I said, if your quantum appeal is settled, you get immunity from penalty and interest. Issue arises, what about if you already file appeal against penalty or interest as well? You need not do anything. Those two, though all the three appeal will be clubbed together, you have to pay only tax as per quantum appeal, penalty appeal and interest appeal related to quantum will automatically get settled without any extra payment. But say the reverse is the case, that you have not challenged quantum addition. You have only challenged penalty appeal, or let's say interest appeal. Here the scheme says that if quantum appeal you are filed, but you are not settling, no, you are not allowed. You have to compulsorily settle quantum appeal if it is pending or if the due date is not over. In that case, you cannot independently go for waiver or settlement scheme qua only penalty. You have to compulsorily settle the related quantum appeal if it is otherwise eligible to come in the scheme. So this is a broad scheme. Now, as I said, cross appeal, department appeal also allowed on same issue. A very common example would be, for example, bogus purchase, URD purchase, or let's say GP addition, where there is a part confirmation by CRT, part any deletion by CRT. Now, you are in appeal for a part which is confirmed. Department is appeal against the part which is in your, both are in appeal. Now, as I said in the beginning, you got option. Of course, practically you would like to settle both the appeals, but technically, legally, you can still opt for settle only one appeal. Legally saying, practically, of course, you would like to settle both. That's a different thing. Second thing is parallel proceeding. Let's say, yes, there are some proceeding where parallel. Let's say you have filed appeal against 263 before tribunal, and by the time your appeal is pending today, as on today, and even assessing officer already passed the order giving effect to 263 order, against which also you have filed appeal before the CIT. So they are for the same issue. There are two on same issues. Of course, settle both, but there will be, of course, no double taxation in that. You will get how mechanism will they have to work out, but you will have to pay tax only once. And of course, in this, you will be, of course, telling the is quantified. So in that case, your appeal pending before tribunal against 260 will automatically get settled. There are many other examples of this parallel proceeding, like protective substantive. Very interesting issue. Either the same SSC or different SSC, an addition is made Mr. X on protective basis, Mr. Y on substantive basis. Now, scheme does not say anything about that. As I said in the beginning, that scheme there are more clarifications. So these are some the issue regarding protected is mentioned as well. In such a, if you settle the substantive addition appeal, then the ascending officer will have to give corresponding relief in a case where the addition is made on protective basis by rectification or exactly they mentioned. Now, friends, I don't know how they are going to do it. That because they count the A in the other case. Now, it may happen that protective and substantive may not be in the same. They may. The mechanism, of course, will work out. There is not, but they have replied that yes, AO will give rectification effect in the person in whose hand the addition is made on protective basis. Now, of course, they have not clarified what happens if the reverse is the case. In my hand, protection is made. I am interested in going for the KVC scheme, but the SSE on whose hand the substantive addition is made, somehow he is not willing to go for the scheme. What happens? Now, according to me, personally, yes, in such type of case, also a person in whose case the addition is made on protective basis also can go, but the government seems to be of the opinion that in case of a protective addition, you cannot recover the amount, so you cannot go for the scheme. But according to me, no, that cannot be the correct interpretation, because in case of even protective addition, income is assessed, only that you cannot enforce recovery. Amount is quantified, addition is still quantified. So these are the, then now see, very important thing is appeal should be pending at on 31st of January 2020. This is most important criteria. Now, appeal may be fortunately it was mentioned that admitted under KVS scheme you could not have gone. Here you can go because the condition is only pending, that is filed. It may not be admitted as on today, as on 31st March or 31st January 2020. It may be pending for you defective appeal, or you have filed appeal late. Around 31st January you have filed an appeal, but it was beyond the time. According to me, you can still go for the scheme because the requirement is only pending. There is no further requirement. It should be regularized around that day. That is another welcome feature. Of course, we'll be discussing all the issues in all this issue that running perspective. Dim appeal, very interesting concept. First time I have seen it. Dim appeal. It says that what happens if, let's say, you have not filed appeal around 31st of January 2020, because the main criteria is your appeal should be pending around 31st January. Now, the novel concept of dim appeal, meaning that there may be a case where you have not filed appeal around 31st January 2020, but your due date of filing appeal against the order, lower order, is still not over. Let's say assessment order is passed on 20th of January, or let's say CIT appeal order must be passed in, assessment order are passed before December. Then a CIT will pass order on, even in December 5th. So before tribunal, you've got 60 days to go. So around 31st January, though you have not filed appeal before the tribunal yet, but your time limit for filing appeal before tribunal is not yet over, because your 60 days time is not getting over around 31st of January, you can still go for the scheme, and which is called dim appeal. And very interestingly, this concept is applied also for department's dim appeal. In such a case, you did not then actually file the appeal. You did not. Now, so that is very important issue. Now, what dim appeal, and then only thing is very important thing. You may say that why I should settle department appeal, because I already succeeded before the lower authority. Why I should go for department appeal, because I have succeeded. So to encourage such type of settlement, file a settlement of appeal in case of department appeal, they said you pay only 50% of the tax involved. Suppose you are settling your scheme, you have to pay 100% of the tax involved in your appeal. But tax includes cess and surcharge, not interest. But if you are going for department appeal settling, then you have to 50% of such amount. This is broadly the advantage of settling department's appeal as well, though you have succeeded before the lower authority. Now, it may happen that your appeal is set aside by the tribunal, for example, before the lower authority. Now, let's say it is set aside before CIT appeal. Then, of course, there is no issue because your appeal is deemed to be, or appeal is pending before CIT appeal. So, as on 31st January, so you can certainly go for that appeal which is pending before CIT appeal. But let's say the tribunal has set aside the issue before the AO. Now, all this as on 31st of January, I'm saying, as on 31st January, what should be the scenario? Now, as the assigning officer is not an appellate authority, so scheme says your appeal is pending before an appellate authority, you can go. But in the circular, they have made an exception that in such a case, that is where the tribunal has set aside an issue before the assigning officer and who is yet to pass the order, you can still go for the scheme qua such pending procedure before the AO. The only rider which they put is that if the direction of the tribunal was to cancel the assessment and to make de novo assessment, then you cannot go for the settlement scheme. That means, suppose, let's say, you had quashed without jurisdiction, an assessment order is quashed by the whatever they mean, what they by cancellation. Then yes, because assessing officer has to make a totally fresh assessment, then you cannot go for the scheme. Logic seems to be that in such a case there is no yet income determined or determinable, but there is a general set aside. That's one of the ground. You have raised 5 ground, 1 ground. Okay, this ground is set aside. You have to give proper opportunity, or you have to do further investigation, whatever. Then of course you can go for such pending proceeding before the AO. Only condition they have further put is that if there are other issues against the tribunal order in which you are in, let's say before High Court, then you also settle those issues as well. These additional conditions they have put. Friends, let me again just come out for the time being on the larger issue that this is a scheme which is optional to you. Optional to you. So while when you approach the court, the approach of the court, according to me, would be, look, this is a liberalization scheme. Nobody is compelling you to go for the scheme. So it is like a take it or leave it. You cannot ask more concession compared to as they were given. So if you want to enter the scheme, if you want to be eligible for the scheme, you have to strictly follow within the parameter what they have given. You cannot ask for further concession other than what they have given either in the scheme or in the FAQ or the circular. This is just a general observation because, of course, the courts are quite liberal if taking clue from the judgments leading to such earlier scheme. In some cases, for entry point of view, conditions strictly construed. They have said conditions to be strictly construed, but if it's a procedural thing, they have taken a liberal view. So, in the case of set-aside proceeding, because there is a concession given to you, it is not in the scheme, it is in FAQ. So, you cannot complain that why they are imposing certain further conditions. Now, coming to writ petition, I already covered the issue, so I will not go to that. Writ petition, set aside also penalty. Now, yes. Now, there are certain bar, certain prohibition, some certain proceeding you cannot at all enter into the scheme. There is total bar. Now, what are those proceedings? Number one, search cases. Now, in the unamended scheme of this Vishwas scheme, there was total bar. Okay, if your assessment is based on search, in case of anybody, but if your assessment is based on search, then you cannot go for the scheme. But now they amended the scheme. They said no. If this bar is only applied if your income assessed is more than 5 crores. So if your search assessment, your assessment is less than 5 crores, you can go for the scheme. The only penalty you pay is that instead of 100% of tax paid, you have to pay 110. So there too, if you are search case, you can still go, but you can pay certain further amount. You have to pay certain further 110%. Now again, this such case, now there is a prosecution. This is very important. In a case where prosecution proceeding is already instituted, friends, very important word, instituted, not initiated. Support on a particular assessment related prosecution, correct? And that is instituted. Let's say your bogus purchase, let's say whatever cash credit, and again that prosecution proceeding is already instituted against the SSC, then you cannot go for the scheme qua that assessment or for penalty. But suppose your prosecution is different, then assessment is different. That's a prosecution is for different issue which is nothing to do with your assessment or bogus. That's it. Your prosecution is for TDS default, for example, late TDS payment or whatever, and your assessment is like bogus purchase. Then of course there is no connection between the two, so you can still go for the scheme qua your assessment appeal, because prosecution is not in relation to, in respect to such quantum appeal. This is what the reading, because as I said, the certain words are not clear, but this is what the reading the entire scheme goes. Then there are further 2-3 exceptions, that suppose your undisclosed income or undisclosed asset is from a foreign source, foreign income, then also you cannot go for the scheme. And and if assessment is based on the information received by the government under section 90, that is DTAA, then also you cannot go for the scheme. And of course, if the income department has filed prosecution against you under IPC, India Penal Code, then also you cannot go for the scheme. These are broadly the prohibitions bar. Now, we have taken all the issues regarding belated appeal and further appeal. Now, quantification. I said, in case of tax, if you are settling quantum appeal, then you have to pay 100% of the tax involved, income tax payable. If you are settling only penalty or interest appeal, then 25% of the penalty levied or the interest levied. As I said, in case of such, it is 100% on the such assessment. But now, previously the cut-off date of 31st of March, to give concession, but now they extended the cut-off date to June. So if you pay before June, then these are the rate, and if you pay after June, then you have to pay some enhanced rate. Now, issue is that certain few more concession given out of this whatever amount you have quantified. And they say that if any issue is pending, suppose there is an issue pending in your appeal which you are settling, and for such issue you have already succeeded by a higher authority for any year, then to that issue you will get considered. That issue you will not be taxed, in other words, because you issue already in your favor, you will get concession to that extent. 50% of that. Now again, there are going to be lots of dispute regarding whether my issue is in my favor for the earlier or for the other years for higher authority. But this very broad general scheme I suggested. The procedure, I'll quickly go for the procedure. You file declaration. Within 15 days, the designated authority will scrutinize your application, correct, and they will determine how much tax you have to pay. Now, once you receive that certificate, your appeal before CIT appeal will stand automatically withdrawn. This is very important. Before CIT appeal and tribunal, your appeal will be automatically withdrawn. But in case of High Court and Supreme Court, you have to make specially application before the High Court requesting for withdrawal, and you have to attach proof of that letter. Either if order is passed, allow you to withdraw, then well and good. But suppose by the time you file declaration or you receive that certificate, you have not yet received the order of the High Court, but at least your application, you have some proof that you have moved an application before High Court or Supreme Court for withdrawal of your appeal, that also will be enough. And you have to also make the payment within 15 days, and you have to attach proof of that before the DA. Now, this you have to do within 15 days of receipt of certificate from the DA, that is called designated authority, which is principal commissioner of each area. And based on that, principal commissioner will issue final order under section 5(2) of the Act. So that completes the entire procedure. Now, many 2-3 issues may arise about payment. Payment terms, friends, are to be strictly observed. There are precedent for the earlier schemes that there is no exception. Suppose you have to make payment within 15 days, then we have to make payment 15 days. That's it. You may make 99% of payment before that date. 1% remain, no concession. High Court have stated no. You have to condition is there, take it or leave it. So you have to be very careful while filing declaration. You have to file declaration only when you are ready for the payment, because you will have to make the payment within 15 days. There is no discretion given even to the DA, the regulatory authority, to extend the time. No limit is given even to the court to extend the time. So one should be very careful. File. We should be ready. Now, minor procedural issue may arise, but that we can deal later on, because as I said, first you have refund. Now section clearly says no, you will not get refund. So any amount you have paid under the scheme I am saying, not under regular tax. I'll give an example. Let's say today your appeal is pending before, let's say, CIT appeal, where your tax demand is 100 rupees still payable. It is not total tax demand, it is demand outstanding. Okay, let's say tax payable on your addition of, let's say, rupees 500 is 250 rupees. Let's say 50%, or let's say 200 rupees. Your addition is rupees 500. Your tax payable on 500 rupees is, let's say, 200 rupees. I am very simplified. So under the scheme, you have to pay rupees 200, and your automatically demand for penalty and interest will be waived. Now what happens if out of 200 tax payable, you already paid 150 rupees? So you have to pay only 50 rupees. That's it. You don't have to pay. Let's say you have paid 250 rupees. So you will get refund of 50 rupees. That is good point. Correct? Now, let's say you have paid 150 rupees so far. So under the scheme, you have to pay 50 rupees. So you file declaration, you calculate your tax liability. You say, look, 200 rupees my tax payable on my income. Minus 150 are already paid, or the department has already adjusted refund of some others against the demand. So under the scheme, I have to pay rupees 50. Now, for any reason, you paid 49 rupees, 45 rupees, or for any reason, even if you have paid 50 rupees, suppose your declaration is deemed to be void because there are certain violations on your part, you are given incorrect or false particular. So he will not issue 5.2, or 5.2 certificate issued will be withdrawn automatically. In such case, you will not get refund of 50 rupees. Of course, 150 rupees is already there, which is not to be touched because that is paid under Income Tax Act that you will get. But here also, I think there are certain precedents to say that suppose for any reason your certificate or your order is rejected, your declaration is rejected for some technical reason, for any reason, then the plea of the SSC is, okay, you don't give me refund, but at least allow me to adjust or allow me to take credit of such payment against my regular demand. I don't want money back. I have paid 50 rupees. Okay, but allow me against my demand. So my demand, which is 200, deemed to be adjusted. In some cases, Supreme Court has accepted such plea, where for any reason SSC had challenged, for example, scheme or some technical point, they say, okay, allow a refund. But generally, if it is your fault, what I see, bottom line is, if it is your fault, something is, you have done something false statement, or you have violated any of the undertaking, because under the scheme you have to also be undertaking that you will not raise an issue which is settling against any authority. So any violation on your part, any false statement on your part will render your declaration automatically void, automatically. Correct? That's a section, separate section mentioned in the scheme. So one has to be very careful while filling up all the columns, all the details which are on online, electronic, because the refund issue is very big nuisance there. Friends, now these are the, I think broadly I have covered the various issues. Now, any, if I request a host, if any other, we can start question answer, or any topic, if anybody of you want to elaborate, I can elaborate, because I thought in the limited time I will just cover very broadly the scheme.
Vipul, I think so. If you want to still go ahead, we can spend still 10 minutes more on this, or we can take up a question and answer sessions also.
Yeah, I think because these are broadly scheme, as I said, immunity from, I already covered broadly, Hitesh Bhai.
Okay. So we started getting the questions. People have started putting on the chats also.
Yes.
So yes. I will share the questions. There are two ways one can raise a question. One is the better way to raise through a chat mode, and those who cannot do a chat mode, then there is an options given where you can raise your hand. You know, in the option, if you go to the participants, there is an screen which comes where there is on the right hand side there are 3 dots where you say that allow you will be allowed to raise the hands. So we'll try to see one by one. First question is from Sridhara Parthasarthi. The question, Vipul bhai.
Okay.
Yeah, the question is in addition, in case of addition of demonetization, which is ordered with 62% of the tax plus 25% cess, whether payment of tax includes or excludes that 25% cess.
I'll answer. Yeah, tax is what is payable. So unfortunately, in this case, yeah, what is payable is higher rate, which is 60 and whatever. Yes, it is. Now, this issue was also raised before the Honorable Finance Minister in, if you won't recall, if you would have gone to it in the meeting with the institute, at the institute before the lockdown was there. And apparently, all the officials said you cannot help it. But as I said, they may reconsider. But as on today, the fact remains is yes, you have to pay the tax payable, which is tax as per 115 BBE. So higher rate of tax you have to pay. There is no concession in this regard.
Okay. So now there is some Mr. Ashutosh has raised the his hands. I'll try to. Yes, Mr. Ashutosh, you can go ahead with your question.
Hello, my voice is coming?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear.
Yes, sir, an order has been passed under section 201 and 201A against me. And the amount of short deductions is near about of 9 lakhs. Whereas interest is for in thousands. Okay. In that case, there are two financial years actually. In first case, I am submitting the form Vishwas Se Vivad, in which I am paying the 100% of the tax. Okay, this thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and in the second financial year, there is opposite. Means interest is of 9 lakhs or something like that, and short deductions is of rupees 5,000 or something like that. So in that case, can I opt a scheme and pay only the 5,000 amount of 201 of the short deduction? I will be relieved from the interest, or I have to pay? I am not clear about it.
First case where you have filed appeal against your liability to deduct or whatever, and there is a consequent interest effect. Now, understand in the first case, there is only one appeal pending against 201. In the first instance, what you described. Hello? So, okay, I think you are muted. So, in the first instance where you are settling the main appeal, then corresponding interest will be, immunity. You get immunity from corresponding interest. And suppose any appeal is pending, then it will be, you have to compulsorily settle the appeal, but you don't have to pay anything extra for that consequential interest appeal.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
See, I must say again, if a host is there, that these are the issues, like for example, TDS. There are many issues on TDS related issue, right? Each and everything which I discussed within the last 40 minutes or 45 minutes, there are some issues. So if it's, if it's convenient to the host and the organizer, then we can have in detail discussion for each aspect, search, prosecution, TDS. Each aspect has got many issues to be discussed. But I'm just giving you a broad answer. Yes, if you settling the main appeal, then corresponding interest will be waived. I'm saying waived.
Another query has been raised by Mr. Abhishek Kumar. His query is the assessment order passed under section 144 on 19/12/2019. But the assessee got to know about the said order when his bank account was attached on 12th February 2020. Appeal filed on 5th March 20 after AO handed over the order and the demand notice on 15 February 2020. Is assessee eligible for V2VS?
I know this is going to be a big issue because this time, as I understand, so many orders are being posted on your portal. So unfortunately, many assessees are genuinely, I said few assessees are genuinely not aware of the assessment order. Now, if you go strictly conditioned, then no, you cannot go because around 31st of January, you have not filed any appeal. And your due date is already over. So you cannot go. But there are certain precedents, certain judgments. that where SHG could prove that genuinely he was not aware about the order. So, the court allowed that. But as I said, it's a very exceptional cases where court will intervene. But if you go to the scheme, no, because your appeal should be pending around 31st of January. And due date should have been over. Should not have been over. In your case, December order, already you should have filed appeal, 30 days time got over. So technically you cannot go unless you have to file writ petition, because DA in this case will not be able to help you. But if you see the form, form 1, there are no exception provided to take care of the genuine or bona fide cases. The only remedy appears to be to approach the court. Hitesh bhai, is Dinkal Haria online? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So next query is from Mr. Nitesh Modi.
Yeah.
That is with respect to section 9A 1, which provides for the limit of rupees 5 crore is with reference to the amount of disputed tax and not the assessed amount for an assessment year.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I am also Vipul bhai, section
disputed tax. The word
yes.
uses disputed tax.
Yes.
The word uses disputed tax, and which is also defined in the scheme. Disputed tax means amount. It's a long definition, but disputed tax means amount which is payable in the appeal.
Okay.
Tax amount, and that they have defined. It includes. I'll tell you exact wording. What they have said that it includes. Yes, tax payable. Exact word is payable, and including surcharge and cess. So it is a tax amount.
So 5 crore is the tax amount. That is the thing.
Yeah, and surcharge and cess, including surcharge and cess.
Okay. And not the amount for an assessment year.
Yeah, so related. So that, see, okay, these are different query. Yeah, now I understood. It's a different context. See, this is again a very big issue, whether you are debarred by the entire assessment year or qua that connected appeal. My reading would be qua connected appeal. For example, let's say in your case, search has taken place, assessment is made on the basis of the search. Fine. So, as per section 9(1), you cannot go for the scheme qua that appeal if at all pending against the assessment order. But take a case where for the very same year, your appeal against, let's say, TDS obligation 2011A or some other thing which is not connected with the assessment based on search. So, according to me, you can still go for settlement qua that appeal which is not connected with the search assessment.
Hello, sir.
Dinkal, you are there?
Dinkal is there.
Yeah.
So can you, can you keep her also on mute?
Yes, she is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next query is from Mr. Dharmesh Shah. If MA is pending, can we say appeal is pending before tribunal?
Again, a perennial issue. Depends upon what are the relief you have sought in your MA application. Now, the nearest case which I can visualize, which you can ask for mercy or relief, is where your expiry order was passed before 31st of January. Your MA is for restoration, recalling the order. That's the only thing which I say you can ask for mercy. Look, even though there was no appeal was pending, but now around 31st January, but look, after 31st of January in MA, my MA is admitted, allowed, and the appeal is restored for fresh hearing. So restoration will lead back. In fact, friends, in this scheme, the doctrine of letting back is going to play a major role, not only for the entry point of view, for eligibility point of view, but also for computation. That's again a different. But in this case, Mr. Dharmesh bhai, if you are able to show that your MA was for some restoration, and by the time you file declaration, the MA was already allowed, your appeal was restored for hearing again. So you can say rating back. So around 31st January, you can still say that the appeal was pending. It's again a concession or relief on an equity ground. But otherwise, before 31st Jan, already your tribunal order was passed against you ex parte. So no appeal was pending before against the High Court, as I assume. There was no appeal pending before the High Court. You only filed MA. But there's, I think, MA, this, if you restore before declaration, it will be helpful for you to contend to support your case.
Yes. Next query is from Mr. Dilip Kumar Agarwal. I think so. You answered that again. Whether the limit of rupees 5 crore for such cases for 19 years together.
No, qua each year. Separate, yeah, you are right. Qua each assessment. They have clarified in the circular, qua each year. So you have to consider 5 crore per year.
Now, again, there is a next question from Mr. Dharmesh Shah. Whether on applying for the scheme for the quantum appeal pending before IT80, whether penalty stands deleted, waived, even if the penalty order is passed and separate appeal is pending before any appellate forum. This is in light of the language of section 6 of the scheme. In case where matter is argued before IT80 and the order is awaited as on 31st January 20, can the assessee opt to go for the scheme? If yes, whether the amount of tax payable will be after giving effect to such IT80 order or before?
Yeah, I think that you have to split this into 3 separate independent questions.
Yes.
Number 1, for quantum penalty, as I stated, if you are settling quantum appeal, correct, then any penalty appeal which is based on relation to this quantum will automatically get immunity, even whether you file appeal, you have not filed appeal, whether appeal is pending, not pending. So, if your appeal is pending, penalty appeal, then you have to mention that in your form 1. So, because form 1 is qua assessment here, not qua appeal. So, if for 1 year, whatever number of appeals are pending, you will combine. The option is with you. The option is not you have to go for all the appeal for 1 year. But in such a case, when you are settling quantum appeal, you have to also make reference to the appeal which is pending against penalty order, maybe before the CIT appeal. That settled. You don't have to pay anything for penalty appeal. It will get automatically settled without paying anything extra towards your penalty appeal. Now, second question I think is regarding admission. What was it? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. In case where the matter is argued before IT80.
Yeah, I got it. Sorry, yeah, I got it. Now, fortunately, then under I think under earlier scheme, I think SVS scheme, the one provision was that no, if your appeal is fully heard, then as per that scheme, you are not entitled to go for the scheme. Fortunately, here in this scheme, there is no such prohibition. So if your appeal is heard, but order is not pronounced, signed and dated, as long as that is there on 31st January, you can go for the scheme, because what is important is an order. Appeal is pending, no order is passed. So even if your matter was heard, let's say on any date in January, around 31st, no order is passed. Now, what do you mean no order is passed? Is pronounced, signed. That is a cut off. So if, as long as that is not done, your appeal is still pending.
Okay.
Regarding the third question, regarding how to quantify, in such a case where order is passed afterwards, there is a gray area, because doctrine of relating back will have to be there. So the predominant view seems to be that because you are settling the appeal, let's say for your example, 31st January your appeal was pending before CIT appeal. It was heard already. CIT said, okay, submission is over, hearing is over, I am going to pass order. Now around 31st January, he had not passed order. So I'm sorry, let's say CIT appeal order. I'm sorry, a different way. Your tribunal matter against CIT appeal, your appeal is heard. Tribunal not pass the order. So you are settling appeal pending before tribunal around 31st January. Now tribunal passes order on, let's say, 1st of February. Now what you are settling appeal is appeal pending for tribunal, not afterwards. The quantification will of course be the same, because around 31st January we are settling the tribunal order, a pending appeal for tribunal. So all the computation provision will accordingly apply around 31st January.
Okay.
Because what will happen? I'll give an example. I did not go in detail. Let's say before tribunal, you have challenged 5 additions. Now your appeal is pending around 31st January against 5 additions, so you have to settle all the 5 additions because one single appeal containing exact demand. Now let's say tribunal order comes on 1st of February where you have got relief of against 2 grounds. So can you say, no, I'll pay tax only for 3 grounds now because 2 grounds I succeeded later on. Personally, of course, there is no mechanism provided in the scheme or in FAQ how to take care of such situation. But according to my opinion, if you are settling appeal on 31st of January, then you have to settle all the 5 grounds. Because otherwise, what people will do, they would wait for that order very may fear mein aata ki nahi aata, then we'll see. No. This was my reading. Of course, I said in this scheme, there will be counter view, there will be more than one possible views. I mean, there are many gray areas, but this is what possible views I entertain. There may be other equally other view.
There is a question from Mr. Anuj Singhal. Anuj Singhal ji, can you go please raise your query?
In the meantime, just small clarification. I think for such cases, I said 110, it's 125%. Just because I just recollect.
Yes.
Such, it is 125%, not 110. I think I said 110, if I recollect. So it's 125%.
Okay, Anuj ji, can you hear me? Okay.
And if you pay after June, after 30th of June, then it will be 110, 10% more, 110 or 135, the case may be.
Okay, next query is from Mr. Samir Jani. An addition under section 68 made for penny stock long-term capital gains but taxed at a normal rate. SSE applied under the scheme. Now the AO is proposing through section 154 to rectify it to special rates. Can AO do so pending V2VS application?
Now you have to see position around 31st of January 2020. Around that there is an order against which your appeal is settling. So that particular amount of income and tax is quantified. It's very difficult to for the department to enhance it. But see the reverse situation where AO had rightly or wrongly by mistake assessed you had higher income. Going to consider my amount 31st January, but consider rectify. You see, so the doctrine of getting back applies both the ways. If SSE said that my demand or my computation of tax payable should be based on the correct amount as on date of, let's say, declaration, and you consider some mistake what you had done while computing my income or tax, so not necessarily around 31st of January, but you rectify. So same thing, suppose for my reading, the AO department can also say rectified amount is this. So maybe I think possible that department also made the same claim that what you have to pay at the correct, because rectification may relate back to the demand rates or computation rate.
Okay.
Because under the circular, they have answered this. The rectification later on also will have to be taken into account. So it plays both the ways.
There is a query raised, but the name of the sender is not there. It is from an iPhone. In case of a loss, where the addition will reduce my loss if I go for the scheme, will I have to reduce 50% only or full 100%?
Loss, there is no 50% thing. Loss,
There is
50% is only when you depart the appeal, or your issue is covered by your. Yeah, sure, Dinkle, yeah.
Yeah, or issue is covered by in the favor of the SC.
Correct.
Hello?
So for loss, there is no concession of 50%. Yeah, for loss, there is no concession of 50%.
Okay. Then there
Am
is a
I, am I clear, Hitesh bhai?
yeah. Next query is from Mr. Suhit Agarwal. What would happen to cases sent back by ITAT pursuant to section 158A with the direction to AO to pass the order in terms of outcome of the SSC?
Outcome of?
Just a minute.
See, okay. In the meantime, I already covered this. If what they use the word, I'm using exact word.
Outcome, sorry, Vipul bhai, the outcome of the SSC case pending before the Supreme Court. Can I repeat the query?
Yeah.
What would happen to cases sent back by ITAT pursuant to section under section 158A with direction to AO to pass the order in terms of the outcome of the SSC case pending before the Supreme Court?
Yes. Now, correct. As I said, this is not in the scheme, but it is in the FAQs. They have mentioned that in such type of case, you have to assume that the issue which is set aside will be addition for which the issue set aside will be repeated by the AO. The exact word used by in the circular is repeated. So you have to assume that the issue on which the issue which is set aside before the AO will repeat the addition made. You have to assume that what will the amount of tax payable on this will be the tax payable. This is what the exact word used in the circular. So you have to assume that the AO is going to make repeat the same addition, what he had made on the same issue. So maybe Supreme Court, whatever, you assume that suppose AO has to make the same addition. Supreme Court, whatever pending, you have to for the time ignore it. But because you are filing appeal against certain addition made, and for which tribunal set aside the matter, so you have to assume the AO will repeat the same addition, and you have to quantify your tax payable accordingly.
Okay. Now there is a message from Mr. Nimesh Bisha. Thanks everyone for the wonderful session. The next query is from Nidish Shah. Sir, I want to ask one question on the procedural part. While filing form for V2VS for disputed tax, we have to fill amount of tax arrears. As per the Act, tax arrears means disputed tax, interest charged or chargeable, penalty levied or leviable. Now, can we have tax and interest amount for from the assessment order? But how can we fill the penalty amount as the same is in the assessment? It is in the assessment order. It is written that the penalty proceedings have been separately initiated. My question is, what is the amount we need to mention in the penalty column, as it may be 100% or 300%? So in short, how do one mention the penalty in the V2VS form?
Yeah. So before I request Dinkle to answer this, one thing is, see, in this case, 100 or 300% will not practically matter, because once you are settling quantum, whatever the amount of penalty, 100, 200, 300, will get immunity.
Dinkle is there.
Hello, sir. Yeah. So what has to be filled in the tax arrear part is where penalty order has been already passed or where any penalty appeal is pending. That would be included in the amount of tax arrear, and not where the penalty has not been initiated yet or any penalty order is not passed, because that will form part of immunity and you will automatically get waiver once you settle the quantum appeal. Hello?
Yeah, correct. Hitesh bhai? Yeah.
Next question is from Mr. Bipin. Whether refund of other assessment years can be adjusted while filing the applications?
No, it's not possible, because they clearly mentioned the refund of that. In fact, forget out that other assessment year. Even for within same assessment year, let's say you have an assessment appeal in which there is a refund pending, correct? You have paid more, whatever may be, and you are filing, let's say, TDS appeal. So within that year, maybe possible. Other years, I don't think so. It's possible.
Mr. VP Gupta wants to ask a question. Mr.
Yes,
Gupta,
sir.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Yes, Vipul, how are you?
Yes, fine, sir.
Very well. Yes. Hey, just one thing. Firstly, I just want to add, you have clarified just now that if the issue
Sure.
is in favor of the assessee, then loss is to be adjusted whether 50% or 100%. So
50.
the rule 9 clarifies this issue. This has to be 50% only, not 100%
Yeah.
in this case. But my question is that you see there are cases where the loss may be carried over, but subsequently one is because the rule and the form provides that you have to take the lower amount of the loss to the subsequent year and pay the tax what would have been payable in a subsequent year on that reduced amount of loss. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Gupta ji, yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, you are right.
So, yes. So there may be case where the loss benefit has not been available to the SSC because of the lapse of the period of the 4 year or 8 year, whatsoever it may be. So in that situation, there will be no tax liability either in the current year or in the year. Or similarly, in case of MAT also, there were MAT credit was not available in certain years in between 2003, 4 to 5, 6 probably. So in those years, if the liability was there as per return, and even on the basis of the assessment order, the MAT liability was higher than the tax, or there will be carry forward subsequent year. So whether this understanding is correct, then no tax will be payable in this situation. Am I clear?
Hello, Gupta ji, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are the issues which are still
Yes,
open.
sir, please.
But, sorry, can you hear me? Yeah.
So my issue is clear to you? Yes, please. Whether my issue is clear to you? Hello, whether
Maybe
my issue is clear to
problem
you?
at my end. I don't know whether problem in my end because
Yeah.
my voice is coming clearly.
Yes,
sir.
we can hear you very clearly.
Okay.
Mr. Gupta's question, have you understood?
I may
Yeah.
repeat. Should I repeat?
Yeah, I got in some year. Yeah. No, you mean to say in some year for any reason, some year loss may not be available to your MAT credit for some year for any reason. There will be many variation coming in. So you are
in both
benefit of loss.
In both cases,
Yeah, you can
the
repeat,
loss
yeah.
is reduced as per the, and the loss benefit is not available in subsequent year. So there will be no liability even in subsequent year. So in that case, no tax is payable either in this year, relevant year, or even in subsequent year. Similarly, the MAT credit also was not available in certain years.
Yes.
So there is adjustment in MAT credit. So there will be no liability if one opt for that option. Neither in
Yeah,
the year
correct,
of
correct,
declaration
yes.
nor in the subsequent year. So no tax will be payable in such a case. Yes.
Correct. So as I said, if you see the section, they have not taken care of this situation where ultimately no tax may be payable.
Rule.
But strictly reading, I think that is
Rules.
possible. Ultimately,
Yeah.
you won't be able to pay tax unless in the form.
Rules
in
it is
any
there.
form.
Sir,
in the rule.
in rule 9 and 10, subclause 2, subrule 2 is there, which says that if there is any liability that arises because of setting of this loss in the year in which you are settling the appeal, then you have to pay that amount. But in this case, as Mr. Gupta mentioned, there will be no liability in the subsequent year also because either the loss is getting lapsed or there's substantial loss available.
Correct. So I don't think you need to pay anything. That the answer seems to be.
Right.
You cannot help. Government cannot say that no, it's unfair. There is no provision for take care of such situation where you can still tax me. Once
Can I
exercise
raise?
the option.
Yeah. So that appears to be
Gupta ji.
question. Yes. One more query, if I am permitted. In regard to
Sure.
TDS, there is a clarification by question number 32 that in case the deductee settle the issue, then deductor need not pay the tax and he has to pay only the interest amount. But what will happen to 40A1A
Yeah.
addition in case of deductor? That clarification is not there. What is your view about it? Have you got it?
Yeah, Dinkel? Yeah. Yeah, I got
Sorry,
the point.
sir.
32,
Can you
na?
repeat the question?
Yeah.
You see, by
Whether
question
deductee
32 of the-
settles. So
deductee settles the issue as regards the addition on which tax was not deducted by deductor. So there
you
is a
will get
dispute pending in
consequential
case.
relief.
Consequential
Yeah.
relief as regard TDS.
Yeah.
It will happen to 40A1A addition because that clarification is not there. Although in case of separate issue, when the deductor settles, he will get the advantage of 40A1A also. But in case of deductee settles, he will get the advantage of TDS, but there is no clarification of the addition of 40A1A.
Yeah.
So what is your view?
Yeah. Gupta ji, this issue will arise in many other
Yes.
cases. Let's say, for example, I am in substantive protective addition also. I am in appeal for 5 grounds. Only 1 ground is substantive or protective. So how to give effective consequential relief? So according to me, they have given one example. Let's say it's not the entire protective assessment. And it's out of 5 additions, that means 1 addition only protective addition is made. Correct? So let's say the example which they have given in the circular. Let's say I am a person in whose substantive addition is made. Correct? So I am settling the entire appeal. My appeal pending, which is one of the ground is in which protective addition is made. Now, in case of the person who is in when the protective addition is made, he is only one of the issue. So they say you have to consider rectification. So the same logic may be applied that in case of 40A1A, you may give consequential relief. How it will be given? Mostly it will be rectification or some models they will be find out. So I agree with you. Consequential relief, how to give, they will have to clarify further. But you will get, in your answer to your question, you will get consequential relief in 40A1A appeal because your appeal may be pertaining to many other grounds. 40A1A ground may be one of the grounds.
Yes, Vipul bhai, next question. We are running short of time now. Mr. Anuj Singh has asked for the second chance. Mr. Anuj Singhal, please go ahead with your query.
Yeah, sir, my voice is audible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, I have a question. SSC has paid the tax during the assessment and the order has been passed under section 143.3 read with 147. And the gross demand was very less, but the income, total addition to the income is more or around 70 lakhs. But SSC has paid the tax before the completion of assessment. Then he has preferred the appeal. The gross demand raised in the appeal was very less because the SSC has already paid the tax before. So, am I eligible to get the refund over there or not? And
sorry, you complete first. You complete first your question.
Yeah. The demand actually raised was very huge, around 70 to 30%, 70 lakhs for 30 lakhs, around 23 lakhs. And the interest part is also very huge. So for saving the interest, SSC has paid the taxes before. So interest part is more or less, it is for the assessment year 11 and 12. And to save the interest, SSC has paid the taxes before. Can we get the refund?
Yes.
So may I answer? Yeah, of course. So in your case, you have paid, as per your competence, 70 lakh is the tax payable on the addition made.
Yeah.
Again, that you might have paid 70 lakh, you might have paid 69, you might have paid even more, 75 lakh. There is no issue. You can go for the scheme. If you have to pay only balance, if it is some deficiency, if it is more, you will get refund. That's a very beautiful part of this scheme, a very positive part of this scheme.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I clear?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, we have very limited time, Vipul. By now, I can take at the most 1 or 2 questions, not beyond that. So there is a question from Mr. Ashutosh Bhardwaj. When I am filing the form for V2VS, in case of the appeal not filed till 30th January 20 with High Court, but the time not expired, form is not highlighting where to fill or not allowing us to fill.
Because, yeah.
Sorry, time limit has not expired?
See, the appeal has not been filed in the High Court, but the time limit for filing appeal has not expired.
Deem appeal.
So then there's an option to fill in the details. In the schedules, there's an option filed or to be filed. So in to be filed, you have to say that the time limit has not expired, and then you can accordingly fill in the details.
Okay.
And you are eligible for the scheme.
Okay. One last question I'll take from Rahul Hakani. Order is passed by AO under section 144 in November 2019, but received after 31st January 20, say 15th February 20. Can we say that order is passed before 31st January 20? And second, due date as on 31st January 20 has not expired, as the due date will expire on 15th March, as appeal period starts from the date of receipts.
Yes, of course. Appeal period starts from date of receipt. Yes, Rahul. Yes, you are right. Even the order might have been passed any date, but you are served or you received that afterwards. You had an assessment order. Sorry, 1 minute. Assessment order.
See,
Which order? Assessment order.
order is
144 order, right?
144 on November
Ah.
19.
Yeah,
But
I got it.
received after January 20. Say received on 15 February 20.
Yeah, I got the point. Yeah, I got the issue, Rahul. I got the issue that there was no appeal. In fact, the order itself was not in. You are not aware about the order itself. Forget about any appeal. So there is no question of any appeal pending before 31st of January. But as I said, that DA will not be able to help you. But if you can prove your case, then court may help you. Can look, though order is passed, but you received late. You received late for whatever reason, so you are deprived of your right to settle the appeal or right to file appeal because the CIT appeal. Had the order been served to you on time, then you could have go for the scheme. That's the only plea you can take before the court. Otherwise, DI will not be able to help you. In the declaration, there is no such provision to give any relief on humanitarian or technical, as I said, genuine or bona fide ground. So there is no appeal pending. You cannot go, but you have to go for the writ.
Sir, in this case, time limit to file appeal has not expired.
Correct, but there was no. That is only when order is passed. Some order is passed before 31st of January, and the
So in
time
this
is
case-
not yet over. So in this case, order was I received after 31st January. So as I said, how you fill up the form? Question is maybe you technically you may be right. Means on equity, but how do you fill up the form? Form 1.
Yeah.
Because if you see the language, if you see the language of deem appeal, you just see the section 1, when the concept of deem appeal. I just read, Rahul, in a person in whose case an order has been passed by assessing officer, has been passed but due date is not been filed. Correct? So on one hand you said I was not aware of this order, so order is technically passed but I was not aware. So due date is not yet filed. So as I said, form 1 may not help you. We have to, Dinkle, I think form 1 will help this SSC.
Sir, I'll have to check.
Rahul, you
Yeah,
are
should
able to-
help.
Rahul,
Because
you can speak.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Rahul, you can speak.
Yeah,
So,
Rahul,
sir, that,
in your
deemed
case,
appeal-
you can file form 1 if the DA agrees that nothing like that. I think technically, legally, you should get relief. Only thing, form technicality, how form 1 will, DA will adjust this amount, adjust this issue. But legally, yes, I agree with you.
Form
Should
1,
get,
Form 1, there is a problem because
Yes,
I have to
that-
mention a date. I have to mention a date of receipt prior to 31st Jan.
Yeah, so
that
your
agree, but
order is
if you
passed.
read,
Sorry.
if you read section, Rahul, you should get relief. If you read the
that
section,
is-
you should get relief. You should be eligible.
Okay, Vipul, I think so we need to end here. We are almost reaching the time. Hardly 2 minutes are left. Now,
Just 1 minute, as I said, friends, yes, there are many issues. I just try to be general. So yes, as Gupta, you also raised very pertinent issues, Rahul. Everybody raised very pertinent issue. Then there may be many further issues on each of the aspects, and there will be more than one opinion. And as I said, the government will have to, AIFTP once a booking will have to make recommendation, Gupta ji, Wadhwa ji ke saath, what are the pending issues which require clarification, so that all these things will be sorted out. Hopefully, now they have got enough time after the lockdown, and they will extend the scheme further, as I understand. So I think all these issues will be clarified, hopefully.
yes, Vipul bhai. We received a lot of questions also, but because of the paucity of time, I don't think so we'll be able to take it more. Now, coming back to the many participants have also sent a compliments for the very enlightening session. With this, I would like to thank Vipul bhai on behalf of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners as well as all the participants.
My
request
pleasure.
all of you to carry a very hearty vote of thanks, and Vipul bhai,
Thank
if need arises,
My
probably
pleasure. My pleasure.
may carry out for the second session if need arises to sort out, because so many queries are there.
Peter bhai, can I request let all questions come, because good that questions are raised, that either we can discuss, or at least it will be useful for make representation before the government. Gupta ji is there on the line. It will be helpful for him also to carry the matter further.
Yeah,
Gupta ji, am I right?
I feel like then in that case, all the questions should be sent to the AFTP to send
Correct.
to Ravi, and let Ravi to compile it. Then we will see how we will deal with it.
Yeah, correct. So we can request everybody to still, if they are still further question, they can still mail to AFTP.
Yeah. So, and thank you, Dinkle, also for sharing your views.
My pleasure, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now we'll end the session here.
Thank you. Yeah. Chalo, thank you everybody. My pleasure.